Hello, I'm Katie St. Ors, tax strategist, certified financial planner, and producer of The Deep Dive. Welcome to Season 3, Episode 69, and today we will do a deep dive into taking your Social Security early. This was requested by Kelly in Alaska. Okay, it looks like Elizabeth and Michael are settled behind the microphones, so let's get going.
Welcome to The Deep Dive. We take your questions, your sources, and we try to extract the knowledge you need.
That's the goal.
And today, we're tackling a really significant retirement decision. This one actually comes to us from Kelly in Alaska, who asked specifically about this. When should you claim Social Security benefits?
Oh, yeah, this is a big one, a huge one for so many people. We're going to try and unpack the complexities of claiming early versus waiting. And Kelly, as you'll see, this single choice, it really can have major financial ripples throughout your whole retirement.
Definitely. So our mission here is pretty straightforward. We want to equip you, Kelly, and anyone else listening who's grappling with this, give you a solid understanding of how it all works.
Right, the mechanics.
Yeah, the mechanics, the trade-offs, those personal factors that matter most. So you can hopefully make a confident, informed decision, without feeling totally lost in all the details.
Exactly. Avoid the overwhelm.
Okay, so let's just dive right in. Why is when you decide to start taking Social Security, why is that such a pivotal moment?
Well, I think one of the key things the report highlights is just how permanent this decision usually is. I mean, generally speaking, once you start getting those retirement benefits, that initial amount you get, that plus the inflation adjustments each year.
The TOEL-A's, right?
Exactly. The cost of living adjustments. That's basically what you'll get for the rest of your life.
Wow. Okay.
And, considering Social Security is such a foundation of retirement income for millions, I mean, it replaces a big chunk of pre-retirement earnings for a lot of people.
Yeah, for sure.
The timing, when you start it, it really sets the stage for your financial security, potentially for decades.
Trade in your boring job for a brilliant career using Adobe Creative Cloud. Start learning now with the free trial link in the description.
And those KOLAs you mentioned, they're vital. They give you crucial protection against, rising costs over a potentially very long retirement.
Right. It's not like you can easily hit rewind if you change your mind later. So, okay, I understand the basics here. What are the key ages we need to have on our radar? I always hear about age 62.
Yeah, 62 is definitely one of the big ones. The report calls it the earliest eligibility age, or EEA.
Okay, EEA.
That's the absolute earliest you can start getting retirement benefits. But, and this is the really crucial part, claiming at 62, or frankly, any time before your full retirement age, it means you get a permanently reduced monthly benefit.
Permanently reduced, okay.
Think of it like early access comes with a discount attached, a permanent discount.
Okay, so 62 is the first door, but it means a smaller check forever.
Got it. What about this full retirement age, the FRA? What's that magic number?
Right, the FRA. That's the age when you're eligible to get 100% of your primary insurance amount, or PIA.
PIA.
Yeah, primary insurance amount. That's essentially your full unreduced Social Security benefit. It's the baseline number they calculate based on your whole lifetime earnings history.
Okay, so FRA gets you 100% of your PIA. Simple enough. Well, here's where it gets a bit more complicated, like you hinted. It's not one single age for everyone. Your FRA actually depends on the year you were born.
Ah, okay. So it's a moving target depending on your birth year. How does that work? Can you break that down?
Yeah, absolutely. The report lays it out pretty clearly. If you were born back in 1937 or earlier, your FRA was 65.
Okay, the traditional age.
Right. But then it started gradually increasing. So for anyone born between 1943 and 1954, the FRA is 66.
Got it. 66 for that group.
Then, if you were born between 1955 and 1959, it goes up by 2 months for each birth year. So 55 is 66 in 2 months, 56 is 66 in 4 months, and so on.
Okay, creeping up.
And then for anyone born in 1960 or later, and that's probably a lot of people listening, maybe Kelly up in Alaska too, the full retirement age is 67.
67. Okay. So it's really important to know your specific FRA.
Absolutely critical, because that's the benchmark they use to calculate both those reductions for claiming early and any credits you might earn for delaying past your FRA. We can talk about those later.
Okay. And you mentioned the FRA changing. That kind of reflects changes in life expectancy and keeping the system solvent, I guess.
Exactly. It gives you a bit of historical context for why the rules are the way they are now.
So just to make sure I'm tracking, if my FRA is 67, like for people born in 1960 or later, and I claim way back at 62, the hit to my benefit is bigger than if my FRA was, say, 66.
Precisely. You got it. The report really underscores this. Someone with an FRA at 67 who claims at 62 is looking at about a 30% reduction.
30%, wow.
Yeah, whereas someone whose FRA is 66 claiming at 62 would mean about a 25% reduction.
Okay, and that's just because there are more months between 62 and 67 than between 62 and 66.
Exactly. More months, more reduction applied each month. Simple as that.
Okay, this is crucial stuff. Let's really dig into that financial impact. How exactly do they calculate that reduction? How much smaller are we really talking month to month?
So the Social Security Administration uses this two-tiered formula. For the first 36 months, immediately before your FRA, your benefit gets reduced by 59% for each month.
59%. Okay, that's specific.
Yeah, it works out to about 6 and 23% per year reduction for those 3 years.
All right.
Then, for any months earlier than that, so if you claim more than 3 years before your FRA, the reduction is a little bit less per month. It's 512% per month.
512. Okay.
Which comes out to 5% per year for those earlier months. So basically, the further you are from your FRA, the bigger the total percentage reduction, even though the per month reduction is slightly smaller for the earliest months.
Huh. That's slightly counterintuitive, but makes sense when you think about the total time. So those months closest to 62 add up, but maybe at a slightly slower rate per month than the ones right before FRA.
Essentially, yeah. The total reduction just keeps growing the earlier you claim. Table 2 in the report Kelly sent actually has some great examples. It shows the maximum percentage cut if you claim right at 62, depending on your FRA.
Okay.
And it illustrates what that means in dollars. Like if your FRA is 67, your PIA, your full benefit would have been $1,000 a month.
Claiming at 62 means that 30% cut, so you'd get $700 a month instead.
$700 instead of $1,000. That's a big
So it
difference.
really is. And if your PIA was, say, $1,800, claiming at 62 with an FRA of 67 means you'd get $1,260.
Again, a substantial drop in monthly income. And we need to keep hammering this home. This reduction is permanent, right? It doesn't just vanish when you hit FRA.
That's absolutely correct. It's baked in for life, a lifelong adjustment. And remember those CCLAs we mentioned?
Yeah, the inflation adjustments.
They get applied to that reduced base benefit. So if you start with $700 instead of $1,000, your dollar increase from the CCLA will also be smaller.
Oh, right. So a 3% CCLA on $700 is less than a 3% CCLA on $1,000.
Exactly. So that gap between what you are getting and what you could have gotten actually widens over time.
So it's kind of a double whammy, lower starting point and smaller dollar increases on that lower base each year. Ouch.
It can be, yeah, which really emphasizes the importance of the decision.
Trade in your boring job for a brilliant career using Adobe Creative Cloud. Start learning now with the free trial link in the description.
Now, the report also mentioned something called delayed retirement credits, or DRCs.
Yeah.
That sounds like the opposite. Precisely. Good way to put it. DRCs are basically the reward, the incentive the Social Security Administration gives you if you can afford to wait past your full retirement age to claim benefits.
Okay, so waiting past FRA gets you a bonus.
A bonus, exactly. You can delay all the way up to age 70, and for every single month you postpone claiming beyond your FRA, your benefit amount actually goes up.
By how much?
For people born in 1943 or later, which is most people now, the increase is 1/3% per month.
1/3%.
Okay, which adds up. It comes out to a guaranteed 8% increase per year for every year you delay past FRA up until age 70.
8% per year, guaranteed. That's pretty significant.
It's huge. It's a very attractive inflation-protected return that's hard to beat anywhere else. So waiting until 70 can give you a substantially larger monthly check compared to claiming at FRA, let alone claiming early.
Okay, so there's clearly a big financial incentive to wait if you can. But the question Kelly asked, and I bet lots of listeners have, when might it actually make sense to claim early? Despite that reduction, what are the upsides?
Yeah, it's not always about waiting. The report outlines several potential advantages to claiming early. Probably the most immediate and often the most compelling reason is just needing the money sooner.
Right, basic needs.
Exactly. If you've stopped working, maybe unexpectedly, and you need funds to cover rent, mortgage, food, utilities, essential expenses, Social Security can be a lifeline, especially if you have limited savings or other income sources.
Makes sense, like a bridge if you lose a job or something.
Definitely. Or if health issues force you into retirement earlier than you planned, that immediate income access could be absolutely crucial.
Okay, so immediate need is a big one. What other reasons might lead someone, maybe like Kelly, to think about claiming at 62 or, shortly after?
Well, another really significant factor is health. and life expectancy.
Okay.
If you have serious health problems or maybe a family history that suggests, unfortunately, a shorter than average life expectancy, claiming early might actually mean you receive more total benefits over your lifetime.
How does that work?
There's this idea of a break-even age. It's often estimated somewhere in the maybe late 70s or early 80s.
Okay. Break-even.
That's roughly the age where the total amount you would have received by delaying finally surpasses the total amount you got by claiming early. So if you don't realistically expect to live that long, then claiming sooner, even though the monthly check is smaller, could mean more total dollars in your pocket over your remaining years. It's a trade-off, right? Lower monthly amount for more years versus a higher amount for potentially fewer years.
That's a really personal calculation then, based on your own health outlook.
Deeply personal. Another reason people claim early is simply to fund an earlier retirement lifestyle.
Ah, the fun stuff.
Yeah. If you have dreams of traveling or pursuing hobbies while you're younger and healthier, maybe in your early 60s, that Social Security check can help make it happen.
Okay.
It can also be important for couples. Claiming early might allow a non-working or lower-earning spouse to start receiving spousal benefits. Generally, the primary worker has to file first before the spouse can claim on their record.
Right, and enabling spousal benefits. That's interesting.
Yeah, and some people claim early as part of a strategy to preserve their investment portfolio.
How so?
Well, if you have Social Security income coming in, you might need to withdraw less from your 401k or IRA, right? That lets those investments potentially keep growing for longer, maybe recover from downturns.
Okay, less pressure on the nest egg.
Exactly. And then there's the more speculative idea some people consider. Claiming early and investing those benefits, hoping to earn a return higher than the 8% you get from delaying.
That sounds risky.
It absolutely is. It's much riskier. You're giving up a guaranteed return for a potential uncertain market return. Most financial advisors are pretty cautious about recommending that.
I bet. Any other, maybe less obvious advantages?
The report does mention a couple more things. Potentially, depending on your overall income picture, taking a smaller Social Security benefit might result in a lower overall tax liability in retirement.
Yeah.
Could keep you in a lower tax bracket, maybe less of your benefit gets taxed. It's complex, depends on other income.
Okay, tax angle.
And there's just behavior. Some people just feel better having the income now, that security of cash flow, rather than waiting for a bigger amount later.
Well, it's a preference.
Sure, the bird in the hand idea.
Sort of.
Yeah.
And finally, though, it's not the mainstream view and the system isn't projected to collapse. Some people claim early because they worry about potential future changes or cuts to Social Security. They want to get theirs while they can.
Okay. So it's clear that while delaying often means more money per month, there are definitely legitimate reasons and strategic scenarios where claiming early could be the right move for someone.
Absolutely.
Now let's flip the coin. We know the biggest disadvantage is that permanent reduction in the monthly check. What other downsides should people really be aware of if they're leaning towards claiming early? Well, that lower monthly benefit, as we said, it ripples through retirement. It directly increases your longevity risk.
Longevity risk, meaning the risk of outliving your money.
Exactly. If your main guaranteed income source is smaller, you have less buffer if you live a very long time or if your other savings run low. And a really big one, especially for couples, it has a direct impact on survivor benefits.
Okay, explain that.
If you claim your own benefit early and therefore get a reduced amount and then you pass away first, the potential survivor benefit for your spouse is based on your reduced benefit.
Oh, wow. So your decision to claim early directly lowers what your surviving spouse could get.
Permanently. It can significantly impact their financial security after you're gone, especially if they were relying on that income. It's a huge factor for married couples to consider.
That is really critical. Okay, what else?
Then there's the earnings test. This catches people out sometimes. If you claim benefits before your full retirement age, but you keep working and earning above certain limits, the Social Security Administration will actually withhold some of your benefits.
Withhold them, even though you've officially claimed.
Yep. For 2025, if you're under your FRA for the whole year, they withhold $1 in benefits for every $2 you earn above $23,400.
Okay, $1 for every $2 above $23,400.
Right. There's a higher limit in the specific year you actually reach your FRA. It's $62,160 for 2025. And the rule is a bit gentler. $1 withheld for every $3 earned above that limit, but only counting earnings in the months before you hit your FRA birthday month.
Okay, slightly different rules in the year you hit FRA. but they still withhold money. Do you ever get that back?
Yes, that's important. You do. The benefits they withhold aren't lost forever. Once you reach your full retirement age, they recalculate your benefit amount to give you credit for the months they withheld payments. So your monthly check will go up slightly at FRA to account for it.
Ah, okay. So it's not gone, but it definitely reduces your cash flow while you're working before FRA.
Exactly. It can be a surprise if you were counting on that full Social Security check while still working.
Definitely something to plan for. Any other downsides?
Well, we touched on the COLA impact already, smaller dollar increases each year because you started with a lower base.
Right.
And fundamentally, by claiming early, you are consciously giving up the opportunity to get those delayed retirement credits. That guaranteed 8% annual boost is a powerful tool for building long-term inflation-proof income. It's a significant opportunity cost.
It really paints a picture of weighing immediate needs and circumstances against long-term income security and potential survivor benefits. Okay, so for Kelly, for anyone trying to figure this out, what are the absolute key personal factors that should really guide this decision?
Yeah, the report rightly hammers this home. It's deeply personal, way beyond just math. Number one is probably your health status and a realistic look at your life expectancy.
Grip honest with yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Consider your current health, family, medical history. That's paramount. Then your financial needs, both now and what you project for the future. And critically, what other income sources do you have? Pensions, savings, investments. Do you need the Social Security money right away for basics? Or do you have other funds you can tap into first, allowing you to potentially delay Social Security? The size and type of your retirement savings obviously play a huge role here.
Right. Someone with $1 million 401k has more options than someone with very little saved.
Precisely. More flexibility. Your marital status is also crucial. We talked about spousal and survivor benefits. These are huge considerations for married couples, divorced individuals, and widows or widowers.
Couples really need to talk this through together.
Essential. Open communication and coordinating strategies. Then, your employment status and plans. Are you still working? Do you plan to work part-time in early retirement? That earnings test comes right back into play if you claim early.
Right.
Think about your desired retirement lifestyle, too. What are your goals? Travel, hobbies, downsizing. What will that cost? And don't forget potential healthcare expenses. Those can be a major factor.
Yeah, healthcare is a big unknown.
And finally, just your personal comfort level with risk, your risk tolerance.
Are you someone who sleeps better knowing you have that check coming in now, even if it's smaller? Or are you comfortable waiting for the larger check later, accepting the uncertainty about how long you'll live to collect it?
Wow, that's a lot to weigh. It's really a holistic decision, isn't it?
It truly is.
Okay, the report also dug into the specifics of how claiming impacts spouses and survivors. Let's revisit spousal benefits first. What are the key takeaways there?
Right. So someone might be eligible for benefits based on their spouse's work record or even an ex-spouse's record in some cases.
Okay.
To get spousal benefits, generally you need to be at least 62 or be caring for the worker's child who is under 16 or disabled. And importantly, the primary worker must have already filed for their own retirement or disability benefits. Your spouse can't get spousal benefits until you file.
Ah, okay. Filing unlocks the spousal benefit. How much can they get?
The maximum is usually 50% of the primary worker's full retirement age benefit, their PIA.
50%, okay. But T, and this is key, if the spouse claims that spousal benefit before their own full retirement age, their spousal benefit will also be permanently reduced.
So both people's claiming ages matter.
Exactly. And there's this rule called deemed filing that complicates things a bit. Basically, if you're eligible for both your own retirement benefit and a spousal benefit when you file, you don't get to pick and choose which one to take first to maximize things. You're generally deemed to have filed for both, and Social Security will pay you the higher of the two amounts.
Huh. So you can't, take the spousal benefit early while letting your own benefit grow to 70?
Not usually, no. That strategy mostly went away with rule changes a few years ago, though there are some exceptions for people born before a certain date and for survivors. For most people filing now, deemed filing applies.
Okay. Good to know. So your claiming decision really affects your spouse's potential benefits. Now, what about survivor benefits? Those seem even more critical.
They often are, providing crucial support after a spouse passes away. Survivor benefits can be paid to widows, widowers, sometimes surviving divorced spouses.
When can they start?
Eligibility can start as early as age 60 or even age 50 if the survivor is disabled, or potentially at any age if they're caring for the deceased worker's child who's under 16 or disabled.
Okay. Is the FRA the same for survivors?
Actually, no. The full retirement age for survivor benefits is slightly different from the one for retirement benefits. It also depends on birth year, but the schedule is a bit different. For example, for survivors born 1962 or later, their survivor FRA is 67, same as retirement. But for those born earlier, it might be 66 or 66 in some months.
Okay, another detail to check. What's the most critical thing about survivor benefits?
The absolute most critical thing is this. The amount of the survivor benefit is directly tied to the benefit the deceased spouse was receiving, or was entitled to receive if they hadn't claimed yet at the time of their death.
So back to the earlier point.
Exactly. If the spouse who passed away had claimed their own Social Security early and took that permanent reduction, that reduction carries over and limits the maximum potential survivor benefit for the widow or widower.
That's huge.
It is. Conversely, if the deceased spouse had delayed claiming past their FRA and earned those delayed retirement credits, that results in a higher potential survivor benefit.
So the higher earner delaying can really protect the surviving spouse.
Tremendously. And just like retirement and spousal benefits, the surviving spouse also has a choice about when they start collecting the survivor benefit. If they claim it before their survivor of full retirement age, that survivor benefit will be reduced.
Okay. More timing decisions.
Yes. And there can be some complex but potentially beneficial strategies for survivors who are also eligible for their own retirement benefit based on their own work record. They might be able to, say, take the survivor benefit first for a while and then switch to their own larger retirement benefit at age 70, or vice versa. It depends on the relative amounts and ages.
Wow, okay. It sounds like for married couples, especially if there's a big difference in earnings, the higher earner delaying their claim as long as possible, ideally to 70, is often a really powerful strategy for maximizing lifetime income for both people and protecting the survivor.
That is very often a key takeaway, yes. It provides the strongest possible base benefit for the couple and the highest potential survivor benefit later on.
Okay. Now, the report also laid out some specific strategic scenarios where claiming early could actually be a smart, well-thought-out move, just to show it's not always about waiting.
Right, definitely. While delaying is often optimal on paper, life happens. We already hit on significant health issues or a genuinely shorter life expectancy. Prioritizing getting some benefits might be better than getting none.
Makes sense.
Urgent, unavoidable need for income is another. You lose your job at 62, savings are thin. Claiming might be the only viable option.
Reality bites.
Yeah. A coordinated spousal strategy can also involve early claiming. Maybe the lower-earning spouse claims early, perhaps on their own record or a spousal benefit to bring some income into the household, while the higher-earning spouse delays their own claim until 70 to max out that benefit and the future survivor benefit.
A tactical approach for couples.
Exactly. For very wealthy individuals, sometimes called affluent retirees, who have tons of other assets, maybe the longevity risk isn't a big concern for them. They might choose to claim early just to access the funds, maybe for travel, maybe for gifting or legacy goals, accepting they might leave some money on the table compared to delaying.
Less about need, more about preference or other goals.
Right. And then there are those riskier strategies we mentioned, claiming early to invest the money, hoping for high returns.
High risk, high potential reward, maybe.
Or integrating early claiming into a really sophisticated tax plan to try and manage overall taxable income across different accounts in retirement. That requires careful planning.
It really drives home the point. No single right answer.
It depends. Okay, finally, let's get practical. For Kelly, for anyone getting close, how do you actually apply for Social Security retirement benefits? What's the process like?
Good question. The report gives a nice summary. You can apply up to 4 months before the month you actually want your benefits to start.
4 months ahead. Okay. And a really important side note. Even if you plan to delay Social Security past age 65, you should still sign up for Medicare around your 65th birthday. Don't miss that window, or you could face lifelong penalties on your Part B premiums.
Critical Medicare tip, don't delay that enrollment. Okay, how to apply for Social Security itself?
For most people, the easiest way is online. Go to the Social Security Administration's website, sa.gov.
sa.gov.
Yeah, you can create a My Social Security account there, which is useful anyway to check your earnings record and benefit estimates, and you can complete the whole application online.
Okay, online is usually simplest. Other options.
You can also apply over the phone. They have a toll-free number, 1-800-772-1213.
1-800-772-1212.
Right. Or you can apply in person at a local Social Security office, but they generally recommend you call ahead and schedule an appointment if you want to do that.
Okay. And if you're living abroad?
Then you typically work through the nearest U.S. embassy or consulate. They handle Social Security matters for citizens overseas.
Got it. What kind of information should people gather up before they start the application? What do they need?
It helps to have things ready. You'll need basic personal info, date and place of birth, Social Security number, obviously, info about your current spouse, maybe former spouses if applicable, names and birth dates of any dependent children, your bank account information for direct deposit. They don't really mail paper checks much anymore.
Right, direct deposit.
Proof of U.S. citizenship or lawful resident status. Details about your work history, employer names, dates worked, maybe a rough estimate of your earnings for the current year and last year. You'll need to tell them the month you want benefits to actually start. And if you're applying around age 65, you'll need to make your decision about enrolling in Medicare Part B.
Okay, quite a bit of info. What about documents? Birth certificate?
Yeah, having key documents handy is good. Your original birth certificate or certified copy, proof of citizenship if you weren't born in the U.S., if you served in the military, your discharge papers like a DD-214, and your W-2 form from last year, or your tax return if you were self-employed.
Originals needed.
They usually want to see originals or certified copies, but they will return them to you. The important thing the report advises is don't delay applying just because you're missing a document or two. SSA can often help you track things down, get the process started.
That's really good advice. Start the application even if you don't have every single piece of paper right that second.
Exactly. Once you submit everything, SSA reviews it. They might contact you if they need clarification or more info. Then eventually you'll get a letter in the mail notifying you of their decision and your benefit amount.
Okay, so wrapping this up. As we've really dug into here, thanks to Kelly from Alaska's question, this decision about when to claim Social Security, it is just so deeply personal.
Absolutely. What's right for your neighbor or your coworker, even someone who seems really similar to you. It might not be the right answer for you, Kelly, or for anyone else listening.
Yeah. We really hope this deep dive into the mechanics, the pros, the cons, the potential pitfalls of claiming early versus waiting. We hope it's giving you a clearer framework, a better way to think about your own evaluation.
Definitely. Take the time. Really consider your health, your whole financial picture, your family's needs, those long-term retirement goals you have. It all feeds into this.
And please remember, the Social Security Administration's website, saa.gov, it's packed with useful stuff. You can get personalized benefit estimates in your My Social Security account. They have calculators for retirement, life expectancy, break-even points. Use those tools.
They are invaluable, truly. And look, given how complex this is and the fact that it's a decision with potentially huge long-term financial consequences, don't be afraid to get help.
Yeah.
Talk to a qualified, objective financial advisor, someone who's a fiduciary who puts your interests first. They can help you see how this Social Security piece fits into your entire retirement puzzle.
That's great advice. Because ultimately, this decision, it isn't just about crunching numbers to get the maximum possible dollar amount, is it?
Not at all. It's really about aligning your Social Security income stream with the kind of life you actually want to live in retirement.
So, maybe the final thought for you to ponder is this. What kind of security and what kind of flexibility do you prioritize most for your future? And how can this foundational benefit, Social Security, best be used to support that specific vision you have for retirement?
Absolutely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.
We'll see you next time.
See you later.
Okay, great. That's a wrap. I'm Katie St. Ors, and let me send out a huge thank you for listening. If you want more content on personal finance and small business, head over and find me on YouTube. You can also find me on Spotify, Amazon Music, TikTok, and Apple iTunes. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll catch you on the next Deep Dive podcast.